Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In previous tutorial we have understood the business problem, and from this tutorial we will start building our project. And this is our dataset, breast cancer diagnostic. Now open new tab and search Google Colab. To build this project we will use Google Colab notebook. Click on File, then New Notebook. It will automatically open Python 3 notebook. It will take a little time. Great. So before start using this notebook, we have to connect. So click here, connect. Now we can start the coding. It is connecting. Nice. Now first we will give the title to this notebook. Breast cancer detection. Now create a section, data pre-processing. Part 1, data pre-processing. I'll just copy the path of this dataset. Create a text cell and paste. First we have to import the libraries and then we have to import the dataset. To create a subsection, importing libraries and dataset. Add few cells. First we have to import 4 libraries. Import numpy as np, then import pandas as pd, then import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and after that import seaborn as sns. That's it. So here we are importing these 4 libraries: numpy, pandas, matplotlib and seaborn. Numpy is to deal with the arrays, pandas is to deal with the data frames and import the dataset, and these two are the data visualization libraries. Now execute this cell. To execute this cell, press Ctrl plus Enter. That's it. We have successfully imported these 4 libraries. Now we have to import the dataset. And before that, we have to upload this dataset in this Google Colab notebook. So click here on Files, then Upload, and this is the dataset that we have downloaded from the kaggle.com. Upload this one. So here we have successfully uploaded this dataset, and to import the dataset we will use pandas. So type pd dot read underscore csv. So using this function we are importing the dataset in Google Colab, or we can say we are reading the dataset. Here we have to specify the name of dataset. So right click, copy the path and paste. That's it. So here we are providing path as well as name of the dataset, and store this in a variable dataset and execute. So here we have successfully read the dataset. Let us check our dataset. Dataset dot head and execute. So these are the first few lines from our dataset. These are the columns ID, diagnosis, radius mean and so on. And these are the first 5 lines from our dataset. So till now we have successfully imported the libraries and we have successfully imported the dataset. So first step is done. Now create one more subsection. I will name it as data exploration. We will explore the data so we can get some insights about the data. Type dataset dot shape. Here we are looking for the shape of the dataset. So 569, 33. There are 569 observations in this dataset and 33 columns. Similarly, we can get the information about the dataset. To do that, we have to use this method info and execute. So this is the information about our dataset. There are 569 entries and columns, the observations from 0 to 568. These are the index locations. As we know that in Python programming, indexing starts from 0. So 569 entries and from 0 to 568. These are the indexes. Here we can see the columns from 0, index 0 to index 32. And here we can see not null values. And then data types int 64, float 64 and object. Int and float 64 means these are the numerical columns and object is for categorical columns. Now add one more cell. Here we can get categorical and numerical columns as well. Let us see how. Type the variable dataset dot select underscore the types. Here specify include, and we are just including this one object, copy and paste, and after that dot columns. Here we are selecting all the columns which has categorical variables or categorical values. So there is only one column with categorical values, that is diagnosis. Let us check the length. To do that, use the function len. So there is only one column. Similarly, we can get all the columns with numerical values. So copy this one. We have to use same dataset dot select the types include, and instead of object, copy this one float 64. Here we have to specify two values, so we will specify in a list float 64 and then int 64. And execute. Copy this line as well. So these are the columns with numerical values. Now check the length. So there are total 32 columns with numerical values and only one column with the categorical values. So after the information, we are seeing the columns with numerical values and the columns with categorical values. Let us move forward. We can get the statistical summary as well. Let us see. I'll note down here. Statistical summary. To do that, type dataset dot use the method describe. So here we will get the statistical summary about this dataset. Count of each column 569, then mean for each column, then standard deviation for each column, minimum value, maximum value, and first, second and third quartile. So these are the details about the dataset. Let us revise what we have done till now. First, we have imported these libraries, then we have imported the dataset. After that, we have checked the shape of the dataset, then information, and after that we have seen categorical and numerical columns, and we checked the number of numerical and the number of categorical columns, and after that we have seen the statistical summary for this dataset. Similarly, we can get the list of all the columns. To do that, type dataset dot use the attribute columns. So this is the list of columns in this dataset. So till now we have done some data exploration. Let us move towards the next step. Create a new section. It will be a subsection again, dealing with the missing values. Add few cells. Now first we have to check if there are missing values in this dataset or not. To do that, type dataset dot use the function is null, then dot values, and after that any. So basically we are checking if there are any null values in this dataset. True, that means we have null values in this dataset. Let us check the number of null values in this dataset. We have to use same command, but instead of this function any, use the function sum. So we will get the number of null values in this dataset, 569 null values. Similarly, we can get the columns which have null values. Let us do this. Type the variable dataset dot columns because we have to get the columns, and in parentheses dataset dot is null dot any and execute. So these are the columns with null values. In this dataset we have only one column with null values. We can check the length, use same function len. So there is only one column with null values. Let us check the count for this column. Dataset, select the column, this one. We have to just specify the name dot count 0. That means all the values in this column are the null values. So we will drop this column because there are no values in this column. Type dataset drop and in parentheses specify the column. I'll just paste and store this again in a variable dataset and execute. So there is a typing error. We have to specify this in quotes. Execute again. Nice. Now check the shape of this dataset. Dataset dot shape. Now there are only 32 columns. Previously it is showing 33 columns. That means we have successfully dropped this column with null values. Now check the null values again. Copy this command. We are just checking again if there are any null values in our dataset. False. That means there are no null values in our dataset. So we have successfully done this step dealing with missing values. First we have checked if there are any null values in the dataset. After that we have checked the number of null values. Then we have checked the columns with the null values. And after that we have removed this column with the null values. And we have removed this column because there are no values in this column. All the values are null values. So we have successfully done this step dealing with the missing values. Now add one more subsection dealing with categorical data. Add few cells. Let us see the columns with categorical values. We have to copy the command that we have used previously, this one. Paste. We are just selecting data types with object. Data type is equal to object. So there is only one column with the categorical values, this one. Let us check the number of unique values in this column. Select first column, diagnosis dot unique. So there are only two unique values, M and B, that is malignant and benign. Similarly, we can check the number of unique values. To do that, we have to use n unique function. So there are only two unique values in this specific column. Now we have to do one hot encoding. It will convert the values in this column into numerical ones. To do that, type dataset dot, we have to use pandas, pd dot get dummies, specify data is equal to dataset. We are providing dataset, and after that we have to specify one more argument, this one, drop first. Just copy this, or we can directly type drop first is equal to true. So here we are dropping the first column after one hot encoding, and we are doing this to avoid the dummy variable trap, and store this in dataset. So we are just redefining dataset. Great. Now check the dataset. Check first few lines. So you can see here no diagnosis column. Go to the end. Here we have diagnosis underscore M column, and this is one hot encoded. M, that is malignant, is converted into 1 and B is converted into 0. So we have successfully dealt with the categorical data, that is, we have done one hot encoding. Let us move towards the next step. Add one more subsection, count plot. Now we will draw a count plot. To do that, type SNS dot count plot, and in parentheses specify the column. So now column name is this one, diagnosis underscore M, and specify label as well. Label is equal to count, and then plt dot show. So here we will get a count plot. Execute. Nice. So this is our count plot, 0 and 1. 0 for B, that is benign values, and these are the malignant values. Around 350 benign values and around 200 malignant values, right? We can get the exact count as well. Let us see how. Type dataset dot diagnosis is equal to 0. Write this in a parenthesis, and after that dot sum. So we are getting all the 0 values, that is B values, count of the B values, right? Execute. So there are total 357 benign values, and let us do the same for M values, and in parenthesis I'll just write 1 and here 0, because we have done one hot encoding, and replace 0 with 1. So there are 212 malignant values, that is 1. So this is the count and this is the count plot. So let us revise what we have done till now. First we have imported the dataset and libraries, and after that we have done some data exploration. We have checked the number of observations and number of column in this dataset. After that we have checked the information about the dataset, and this is the information. Here we are getting number of entries, indexes, columns, non-null values, count, and d type, that is data type. After that we have checked the number of categorical columns and the number of numerical columns in this dataset. And after that we have checked the statistical summary. Then we have checked the columns, and after that we have dealt with the missing values. And here we have removed a specific column, this one. There are no values in this column. All the values are null values. And after that we have done one hot encoding. There is only one categorical column, this one, diagnosis, and we have converted this into numerical one, that is one hot encoding. And at the end we have plotted the count plot. And there are total 357 benign values and 212 malignant values in this dataset. So this is all about this tutorial. I will see you in the next one. Till then, happy learning.